Vallabham Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabham Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava Sripad Paramahamsa Pri Radhgachad Sri Srimad Divine Grace Shiraboy Charanarvind Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Sharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namasarya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samabhata Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Primanande. All glorious to be assembled devotees. All glorious to be assembled devotees. All glorious to be assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glorious to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Ajnanatirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Dakshudum Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Vita Padakamanam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sadhujatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vikam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadukam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalitam Shri Sakamritam Scha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhangu Sutilili Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Vipasindhu Vyayavasya Pavanidyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by regular service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically from nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishre Asayalokasya Dhanyam Svachayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Granthara, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangam gayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Sri Varundinatharanam yat kripatamaham vande Sri Varundinatharanam. Hare Krishna. No clock on. Clock. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tick tick. Didn't quite get it. I'm not asking for the time, I'm asking for a clock. Okay, no problem. All right. I give my cell phone. We have to be self-sufficient all the way. Carry our own clock. Okay, I showed a verse this morning. Today is our last Bhagavatam class in Malaysia for the time being. And it is related with the theme or subject matter that was announced this morning. Does anyone remember? Well, possibly some of you were not physically present when it was mentioned. Anyway, the topic is 3 words which Hare Krishna. We are constantly plagued in Kali Yuga with this thing or that thing. So the 3 words are very significant. They are spoken by one of our foremost authorities, one of our 12 Mahajans from the Mahabharata. I can give you the reference. Those 3 words are in reference to the 3 gifts of nature. We have actually forgotten. It's a very sad story. It's like when we forget, sometimes people forget who they are. It's happening more and more in Kali Yuga. It's called, what's the word? Dementia? You know, dementia. Dementia means you forget who you are. It happens usually in old age. It can happen anytime actually, but it happens more so in old age. You know, the expression, going back to childhood, people become like children. They forget their name, they forget their whereabouts, they forget their relatives, they forget everything. Yeah. So we have forgotten what is described by our acharyas as fundamental and foundational for building a society which will be simultaneously perfect spiritually and materially. How does that sound? You know, a perfect society, both spiritually and materially. It's not what we have today, right? Rather the opposite. We have a society where people are becoming more and more Gnostic, atheist, more and more materialistic, and therefore the whole, Prabhupada would say that modern day society is a very bad, very bad times, a very bad society, which we all know to some extent. We all experience and live and suffer. We suffer. Jai. Yeah. My Savior. It deserves a share. Yeah, give it a share. Oops. Anyways, so so what are those three words? The three words are simple words, and they imbibe a whole very profound meaning. They actually represent a whole concept, which, again, it's a sad story. Thank you. No one should sit under this cloth.
It's strong.
Okay, you sit there. These three words convey a special meaning for those who want to follow the Vedic culture. It conveys a special meaning for those who actually are serious in reintroducing what we have lost and what we are losing every single day as well, and which is affecting all of us consciously and unconsciously, which is actually increasing every day our level of suffering, anxiety, and stress, and affecting our bodily health as well, because we have forgotten about the very deep, very very scientific nature of these three concepts. We all know these concepts actually. We all know these three words. I'll mention to them. You've heard it before. But we have not sufficiently analyzed actually the deep meaning of these three concepts. So these are spoken actually by Grandfather Vishnadev in the Mahabharata, and they are referred to again and again by Srila Prabhupada, our founder, Acharya, And I just want to read a short purport, because this is Bhagavatam class, I should read something from the Bhagavatam, which is in many ways highlighting these three features, right? Or what we call the three gifts of nature. And I'm looking for, and those who are involved in promoting these concepts, we're looking for individuals. Maybe some of you are sitting right here in the Bhagavatam class. We're looking for individuals who want to connect and understand more deeply these three principles, these three foundational principles of Vedic culture. I think I will read this verse and purport, relatively short purport, and then at the end of the purport I will mention, or maybe I will ask, what are the three words that actually describe these three gifts of nature. This is a text from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Those of you who have your handy machine at hand, handy machine. It's Canto 10, Chapter 11, Text 37. 10, 11, 37. Try to memorize those numbers so that later on you can go and, yeah. So because some of you are quick on the draw and have it already maybe in front of you, you can repeat after me. Evam brajokasam pritim yaschantam balachestitah kala vakyai swakalena vatsa palau babhu vatuhu. So for the sake of time, I'll go directly to the translation and purport. This chapter is dealing with the daily pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, right? So this is the translation. In this way, Krishna and Balaram, acting like small boys and talking in half-broken language, gave transcendental pleasure to all the inhabitants of Braja. What happened was that Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, and all the residents of Braja were actually living in Gokula. But due to so many disturbances, they moved from Gokula to Vrindavan. So this is where we are in the story. After moving to Vrindavan, then Krishna grew up as a small boy, and I'll read the last sentence of the purport, not of the purport of the text. In due course of time, they became old enough to take care of the calves. Krishna and Balaram, they were growing up, speaking like small children, you know, they learn how to speak, and parents are always very lovingly affectionate and mesmerized by the first few words that the children are speaking, you know. And then Krishna and Balaram are old enough to take care of the calves. And the purport. As soon as Krishna and Balaram were a little grown up, they were meant for taking care of the calves. Although born of a very well-to-do family, they still had to take care of the calves. This was the system of education. Those who were not born in Brahmana families were not meant for academic education. The Brahmanas were trained in a literary academic education. The Kshatriyas were trained to take care of the state, and the Vaishyas learn how to cultivate the land and take care of the cows and calves. There was no need to waste time going to school to be falsely educated and later increase the numbers of the unemployed. I think we can all relate to this line. Some of you may be sitting here. Krishna and Balaram taught us by their personal behavior. Krishna took care of the cows and played his flute, and Balaram took care of agricultural activities with a plow in his hand. End of the purport. Short purport. So what are the three gifts of nature? They're hidden in the purport. They're not really hiding very much. It should be obvious. What are the three gifts? What are the three things that are of importance that are being mentioned here? Hare Krishna. Anyone, you can raise your hand if you know. Should know. Cows, right? Cows. Calves. The first gift of nature described by Grandfather Vishnadev, which comes up especially in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, in this verse in particular, are cows. Cows are the first of the three gifts of nature without which Vedic culture does not exist, cannot exist. Without the presence of cows, Brahmanas also become unemployed. Because every day, Brahmanas, actually every day, one of the mandatory, there are three mandatory activities, right, for Brahmanas, as well as Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. What are the three mandatory activities every day? How many Brahmanas do we have here? The first is actually to study, to read, to study systematically Vedic literature. Second is to worship the deity, in a personal way, not just to attend Mangal Arati. Even that sometimes is not there. But actually Brahmana has to not only just have darshan of the deity, but he has to have, he is meant to perform puja to his personal deities every day. That's the meaning of actual Brahmana. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they traditionally have Shila and they worship every day. Maybe half an hour, 1 hour, something, depending. And the third, of course, is to give in charity. Because in the Vedic culture, people generally give to Brahmanas. The kings will give, isn't it? They'll give land to Brahmanas. They'll give, whenever there is some festival or some occasion, they'll give cows to Brahmanas, they'll give gold to Brahmanas. So Brahmanas, they don't need all the gold or all the wealth that is coming their way. So they distribute, and what they especially distribute, which is the real wealth, is knowledge, isn't it? The wealth of a Brahmana is the knowledge and realization that he shares, actually, with others. So the first of the three gifts of nature Vrindavan as a village is completely based on or connected with these three gifts of nature. So the first one is cows, which is mentioned here. Krishna and Balaram. They're only 6 or 7 years of age. That's where the majority of young boys, 6 or 7 years of age, that's what they should be doing. They should not be going to regular school. don't mind. But I mean, that's Vedic culture. We should know what the Vedic culture is. We should know what the Vedic culture is. We should know why Prabhupada told us how modern day education is what? Sanskrit word that he used, Atmahana, killer of the soul. Because there's no knowledge or information given about the soul. Isn't it? There's false knowledge, false information, false expectations that are being taught. And people, as mentioned here, directly in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, people get an education, they spend so much money, they spend so many years, they get a degree, and the end result is unemployment. Now this is becoming more and more. True or not true? It's true. And it will become more and more true as AI continues to roll in more and more. All the IT jobs will be disappearing within no time. That is the first gift of nature, which only people who live in village can understand, can appreciate. People who live in cities, Hare Krishna, so much. It's real tough. Practically cannot understand. We hear it, and okay, it's something, but we cannot properly understand what that means. We cannot appreciate any of these gifts of nature the way we're living today. We're totally off the map. We're off the Vedic map. You know. Second gift of nature also mentioned here. Krishna and Balaram, they go out every day with the calves for pasturing. They go to the different forests, from one forest to another. Land. Right? And at the end of the purport, Prabhupada also mentions how Krishna, both Krishna and Balaram, they teach us by their personal example. And what is Krishna's example? He plays the flute. He doesn't play the flute for you and I. He plays it for the cows. he plays it for the pleasure of the cows. I mean, anyone who hears the flute also becomes, what's the word? Mesmerized, as described in the Nectar Devotion. Whenever Krishna picks up his flute, I mean, all the cowherd boys, they know how to play the flute. That's why we should teach some of our children how to play the flute. But, you know, it's the last thing on our list. We don't think about that. So when Krishna plays his flute, that's how he especially brings pleasure and happiness to the cows. If you want to please cows, you play the flute. Or you speak with them sweetly, in sweet language. Or you just brush them. Now we mentioned this, I think you're aware, in the Western world now people are beginning to discover cows. I mean, they already know about cows, but I mean, they're beginning to discover the real, some of the real benefits of cows. Cows are, therapeutically very beneficial. Means if you have some emotional, in modern day society pretty well everyone has some emotional issues, some mental issues, mental disturbance, you go and spend time with a cow. One of our devotees in California, he has beautiful Gir cows, and it's a trend now in the Western countries. They call it, cow cuddling. cuddling. Cuddling means to come and, embrace the cow. They'll take $100, $100, 1 hour. How many ringgits is that? Quite a few. $100 is standard. People pay $100 and they're very happy to spend 1 hour with a cow. And some of them who do that, they start getting realization, wow, cows are very nice. And some of them stop eating meat. Probably some of them become devotees also. So, land, we take it for granted, land. Just like we're surrounded by so much land here. Land Prabhupada would say, land is gold. Cow dung is gold. Land is gold. And the third gift of nature, which is most important as well, because without that third component, we can't appreciate, we can't understand, we cannot know how to deal with cows and land, and that is, the third gift is knowledge, cultivation of knowledge. And knowledge is not only simply material knowledge, or rather spiritual. Krishna speaks about Raja Vidya, the king of knowledge, which is the topmost knowledge, of course, is knowledge of Atmagyan, knowledge of the soul, and knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and devotional service, bhakti, etc. But also material knowledge is very important. We're heavily lacking in modern day society. And as devotees also, we are heavily lacking in material knowledge that is meant to help us actually become more spiritual. Because this same personality, Grandfather Vishnadev, he identifies these three gifts of nature, and he also, in his first instruction to Yudhishthira Maharaj, he emphasizes, he directly tells him that your first and foremost responsibility is to see that society is organized according to the Vedic principles of Varna and Ashrama. And Prabhupada comments on this by telling that, yes, when we follow this so-called material system, that material system is meant to connect us with cows, meant to connect us with the land. When we follow that system, which is Vrindavan system, Vrindavan lifestyle, this, Prabhupada very nicely explains, this will help to accelerate our ability to become devotees. It will help to accelerate the manifestation of spiritual qualities. It will help accelerate us becoming Vaishnavas. It will help us to become, in other words, Krishna conscious. So there is that very intimate, direct link and connection with how we live, where we live, what we do. Because naturally it's connected with the three main activities of the mind: thinking, feeling, and willing. So the more we are thinking, feeling, and willing, as the residents of Vrindavan are thinking, feeling, and willing, then the more we're going to be in line and connected with Krishna, isn't it? And the end result will be easily, naturally, and more quickly, we will gain what most people are very much lacking today. We will gain good health. We will gain wealth. And we will gain, especially, full satisfaction and happiness. Krishna mentions also, Susukam Kartamavyayam, this this process of devotional service based on how we should live, based on the system of Varna and Ashram, will bring us both material and spiritual happiness. So this is one of many important verses and purports that we find in the Bhagavatam, and my humble request is that devotees give due consideration, and today's our last day actually. We're leaving tomorrow morning. Where is that? Yeah. For those who, I have it here. No, it's okay. Right? For those who have not yet come in contact with this little card here, because a lot of what I'm speaking about is easily available in some of the digital books that we have here. So if you have not yet downloaded this after the class, kindly take a few minutes to connect and have access to these, some of the literatures. One book in particular, which is having all of Prabhupada's important statements regarding actually these three gifts of nature, cows, land, and cultivation of knowledge. And Zairam Prabhu, who's here behind the camera, he will have this, and if anyone is interested to be involved in some of these activities, you can let us know as well. We have 5 minutes for any comments or questions. And don't be shy. Usually the boys are not shy. Yes?
Maharaj, thank you for a wonderful class. Maharaj, related when we are doing preaching,
when we're doing preaching, yes.
When we are doing preaching to the new people,
yes.
The new family, and we would like to start Krishna consciousness in that family. In the family, maybe they may have students in primary school, secondary school, and university students, the children's.
Yeah,
so how
don't tell them right away. Don't send your children to school.
How do we present that their activity in action in Krishna consciousness? How is the best way that we put while we are doing what we call Krishna conscious, cultivating the Krishna conscious knowledge with the parents together, with the family? How do we present the best way to present that their action is doing the student as a duty of a student? How do we present to them and to make it into Krishna consciousness? What is the best way, in your opinion, that we have to present to the family?
What is the best way, if I understand your question, what is the best way that we can present Krishna consciousness to them?
Yeah.
That's the question?
So some when we are coming into the reading of the Bhagavad Gita, there are a lot of the time Krishna says, do whatever you are duty for me. So how do we, there may be question raised, what is our duty, that I'm a student now, this is the college student, all these things. So how do we, is the best way that we can present to them so that they are enlightened of this Krishna consciousness?
See, especially new people, we have to gradually introduce the basic philosophy and the process. For example, encouraging people to take up the chanting of the holy name, encouraging them to follow different activities which will, such as, for example, reading and attending Bhagavatam classes, associating with devotees. The 5 our acharyas have summarized what are the 5 most powerful, potent activities. And so, which begin actually with sadhu sangha. We should encourage them to come to our temple, to come to any function or festival, to associate. And slowly, gradually, as they will hear, as they will associate, as they will chant, as they will take prasadam, as they will worship the deities, as they will create that environment in their home, because we also gradually encourage them, okay, in your home, you can have a small altar, you know, all the things that we are doing as devotees. So like this, gradually they will become purified in consciousness, and they will be able to understand. We should avoid making too many heavy statements that sometimes we make in Bhagavatam class to our, to our devotees. I mean, Prabhupada is telling here, it's quite a heavy statement that, you know, most people get an education today, but they end up becoming unemployed. This is modern education. Prabhupada, in many places, in many purports, does make very heavy statements. So we have to be according to what is called Kaladesha Patra, time, place, and circumstance. So best is to gradually introduce, because one of the most important things actually when we come in contact with new people is simply to make friendship with them. You know, explain how this lifestyle of Krishna consciousness, this whole culture, Vedic culture, is the most wonderful culture, most elevated culture that can meet all of our different needs and necessities of life. That's one of the important, let's say, a text in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, you know, Sabai Puncham Parodharmo Tato Bhakti Raghava Swami Ahaitakiya Pratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. All of our material, emotional, social, and spiritual needs are easily met when we actually nicely put into practice this culture of Krishna consciousness. So better to start slowly, gradually, otherwise they will not be able to understand, because initially people who are not aware of the Vedic culture, who are not practicing Krishna consciousness, their mind is filled with so many materialistic ways of thinking, so many attachments are there, etc. So, as the Bhagavatam explains, Vrindavan Katha Krishna, isn't it? By hearing, especially by associating with devotees, our consciousness gradually becomes purified, and then we are able to more easily understand and take up different practices, to the point, for example, which is maybe one of the reasons you're asking the question, for parents, you know, more and more parents, even they're not devotees, more and more parents in the karmic world are understanding that the present modern day system of education, so they prefer homeschooling. They prefer keeping their children at home and giving them directly education, you see. That's becoming more and more of a trend because of so many complexities and problems that are there in actually in the modern system of education. Yeah? Is that okay? Yes?
Maharaj, in the beginning of your class,
yes.
Maharaj mentions how the people who live in the cities,
yes,
they have no idea what is farm life.
Correct.
And majority of our devotees are from cities.
Yes.
So how do we bring the farm to them? How to understand this rural life?
We have to get out of the cities. We have to get out of the cities. How do we get out of the cities? We can do this in different ways. We can do it physically, drastically, or we can begin to, on some level, go outside of the cities to know a bit more about, you know, the whole.
Pleasures of rural life.
Yes. Well, I mean, we can definitely not understand about village life unless we spend some time. So, majority of our devotees, understandably, are not in the position to just pack their luggage and move to the country. Although those who can, all glories to you, you know, because ultimately this is meant to be. This is actually the standard. And Prabhupada, that's why Prabhupada spoke about establishing self-sufficient communities, because Prabhupada explained to us that this whole modern city urbanized way of living is very artificial, killing us in so many different ways, both in subtle and not so subtle ways. And the whole setup is temporary. The real way, we're going to be forced by nature or by Krishna or whatever. But it's always better to do things voluntarily, and plan it. Otherwise, it's like when we go against the laws of nature, as we are doing in modern day civilization, and even ourselves as devotees, because the standard is explained to us, like in this purport and in so many purports of the Bhagavatam, then that means that, it's like nature will take its own course. Nature takes its own course. That happens, that is happening more and more in ways that are very, I would say, tragic in modern day society, because we're so much going astray in terms of how we should be doing things, how we should be living. And that's important also for us as devotees in terms of the material way we're living. The Vedic economy, that's a whole topic in itself. The Vedic economy is unknown to most devotees, because the Vedic economy is based on Krishi Goraksha. Krishi Goraksha Vanyijam, Vaisha Karma Subhavajam, that is Vedic economy. And Prasadam is also there as an important consideration. And before too much sound comes on that side, we'll end our class this morning. Thank you very much, and don't forget to take this from Jai Dev Prabhu. Jai Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.